activism? Can't think of a cool way to help animals? Stay tuned for Anonymous Guy for the Voiceless. Hi everyone, and welcome to Calling All Vegans. I'm Sue Spar. This is my friend and co-host, Alec Bosse. Through this show, one of our goals is to get people active for animals. Our guest needs no push in that direction, yet manages to maintain his anonymity. If you're someone who wants to participate in fighting for animal liberation, but is being held back over worry over legal issues, family disapproval, jeopardizing your job, etc., then this episode should really resonate with you. And if he gives me a $5, I won't reveal it because I get it. Please welcome Anonymous Guy for the Voiceless.
Hello.
Welcome. So, yeah, fighting for animals is all about looking cool, kids. We've also we will crack a window so you won't boil alive in here.
Thank you.
And please tell me this is how you dress every day.
It is how I dress every day, yes.
Every day.
I actually sleep like this as well.
So, both you and your wife do vegan activism, is that correct?
Correct.
And can you just tell us a little bit about your vegan backstory, how you became aware of this, and what led you to start to do activism?
Sure. So, I mean, I know a lot of people will say there was like that one defining moment where they either became vegan or went into activism. But I think if you look back for a lot of people, and for us especially, it was kind of a gradual thing. So over the years, you hear the different media things like red meat is bad for you. So we're like, okay, we stop eating red meat. Or grass-fed is better, or free range, or this or that. And so you would slowly make those kind of modifications to your eating, thinking you're doing the better thing either for the animals or for your health or whatever positive steps you can take. So it was a gradual thing. And I think we started with that, eliminating red meat. And then after that, other things followed suit, like eliminating poultry products. And then I think the last animal products we were eating was dairy, eggs, and some fish occasionally. And we were good with that for a number of years. And then I guess it's about 4 years ago now, my sister watched or read the book What the Health. And I'm not a big reader. I'm more of like a audio book / movie. And so the movie was there. And so my wife and I watched the movie. And just at that point, that was like, the thing that just pushed us over the edge. And we're already 75% of the way there. And I'm just like, for our own health. And I think a lot of people that might resonate with that. They might start for their health. And that's kind of what did it for us. And I had, my routine was to boil up 24 eggs for the week and have them in the fridge, and I would eat a few every day. And they were the last remaining, 6 hard-boiled eggs in the fridge. And
the raccoons got them that night.
No, they didn't actually, because the only thing I hate more than eating animal products is wasting food.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, that's it. And I ate all 6 or 7 eggs just in one sitting. And at that time, my wife was in Portugal. When we right after we watched the movie, she left to go to Portugal with her mom on vacation, and I was here. And so I just kind of ate all the leftover animal products in the house, which wasn't much at that time, maybe a can of tuna I think we had, aside from these eggs. And I'm like, that's it, I'm vegan at this point, done, right? And I think it was mostly for my health, but I think the movie, I don't remember it, having watched it since then, but What the Health does probably touch upon the ethical implications and environmental impacts. And so those also resonated with me, but not as much as the health aspect. Yeah. And that was it. And then I was sending her pictures of the awesome salads I was making and stuff. I'm this is so easy. Just like that, I was able to do it. And I think, I'm sure that's not the case for everybody, that it's that easy to do it. But because we were already 75% of the way there, then it was easy, for me at least. Mm-hmm. And then I think I was actually vegan 3 days before her, because she had in Portugal an octopus soup, I believe. Ooh. And that's the word, that, if that doesn't make you vegan, nothing else will. And she was just disgusted by it. She just basically just barely touched it, and that's it. And then, but I can always claim to be vegan before her, so
So she came home to a bare naked fridge, or a full?
It was full of all new kind of and exciting stuff, and we haven't looked back since then. There's been no kind of like temptation or anything.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that,
Just think of that octopus soup.
yeah, exactly. It's it's like that last disgusting cigarette somebody might have, right?
Exactly.
And then shortly after, we started educating ourselves more, and then it became like a ethical, moral thing that kind of kept us vegan. And we just started participating in different like advocacy and activism events.
Very cool. Now, I understand that you're a fan of Melanie Joy and her notion of Carnism. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
I believe Fanboy.
Fanboy? No, I really like her work. I mean, I think that I've learned over the past 4 years, especially in trying to interact with family and trying to push them to go vegan, and found how unsuccessful it is to push people. I'm like, there's got to be a better way, because we're spending so much time and energy doing this and having very little effect for the animals. And what really resonates with me is always start with what's best for the animals and what will work best for the animals. So this approach of effective vegan advocacy, rather than just what soothes your ego or feels good, which is easy. Like, I have lots of anger and but manifesting that doesn't really help anybody. So yeah, your question was about Melanie Joy. So her approach is about that and identifying eating animal products as the ism, right? Whereas not eating them is the normal state, right? Because veganism gets that bad rap of being the ism, the other, being the outcast of normal society, when it's really the other way around. So that really resonates with me, and she is part of the Center for Effective Vegan Advocacy. So again, effective advocacy rather than just what you think feels good. So that stuff is great.
Put your own ego aside.
Do
What actually works.
Yeah.
So having said that, then it's always good to have allies in our veganism and animal rights. Can you just explain that concept and why it's so important?
Right. So this I would probably refer to Melanie Joy's partner in crime there, or the two of them work closely, Tobias Leonhardt. I'm probably butchering his last name, but...
I do it all the time.
Yeah. His book is that we listening to books, right? Most recently was A Pragmatic Approach to a Vegan World. And he talks about the fact that if you can convince 100 people to go vegan, fully vegan, you'll have X impact on animals. But if you can convince or motivate or help 100,000 people to reduce the consumption of animal products by, say, 10 or 20%, you'll actually have a greater effect on animal suffering in the world, because less animals will have to be exploited and murdered for these 100,000 people. Sorry, what was your question? Repeat your question again, though.
No, that's good.
Is that kind of what?
Actually what I'm. Yeah.
You were saying about allies, right?
And these, having allies. Say someone is a vegetarian.
Right.
Let's say.
Right.
I guess it's sort of the topic of like being so dogmatic that we get locked
Correct.
in.
Correct.
Right.
And it doesn't help
no
anybody.
longer effective, right?
Yes. And I guess that's the thing about allies is, somebody who's like, I agree with you in what you're saying and you're right, which you hear a lot from people, that they agree with what you're saying and that using animals is morally wrong, but they're like, I just can't do it. We've heard that hundreds of times from people. I just can't do it, or I just can't do it now. And, help them with that and say, can you just do this? And I know a lot of people in the community hate the term like meatless Mondays, but it's actually very effective, because if you can get 1 million people to buy into meatless Mondays, that's a huge impact.
It normalizes it.
It does, and it normalizes, and it just reverberates throughout the society, and then more people will adopt that, right? I mean, if we look at religious things about like the not eating meat on Fridays or fish on Fridays, whatever it is, it just becomes a thing to do, right? And if you can ingrain that in society, you'll have a much greater impact than me and my wife trying to convince our families for 4 years to go fully vegan, and they're never good enough, right?
Put forward all that energy, right?
Yeah. So it's about using the energy wisely and getting my ego out of it, which is a really hard thing to do.
Yeah. Now, let's just talk about your variety of unique and effective forms of activism.
Sure.
I love to do a variety of things, and it's more or less an attempt to resonate with a wider base of people, right? And you obviously do this as well.
Mm-hmm.
What's the thinking behind your strategy?
I don't know. I guess it kind of stems from, now this goes back to my ego. I have trouble, I guess, working in groups where somebody else is a leader. And I will do that. I love going to these different events that are organized, but I also like to march to my own drummer. And as do you. Yeah. And so because of that, so I think it's very important to find whatever you're doing in life, whether it's your job or activism, find what resonates with your personality, and it'll be much easier for you. So for my personality, I'm a leader. I like to initiate and do things myself and have trouble following directions from other people. I'm getting better at it over the years, but because of that, I do like a lot of these little things on my own, right? And so I just come up with an idea. Half my ideas, I run them by my wife, and she's like, no, those are horrible ideas. And the other half, she's like,
anyway.
yeah, sometimes I go with them anyway, but and then the other half, they're like, okay, let's try it and see what sticks. And a lot of them work out well, and some of them don't. Some of them are horrible. But, try and see what sticks, right?
So on that, one of the ideas that you had is the missing dog posters,
right?
Which is kind of relevant with winter coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about that? The
Sure.
idea behind it.
Should I take it out?
Please do.
Yeah.
Go ahead, get these props flying.
Get the props flying. Okay. Missing dogs. All right. Should I hold it up here? Hello.
That's fantastic.
So this one, I don't remember what was the initiative, like the motivation behind this. I started doing it 2 years ago. And I think it was just actually seeing a lot of lost dog posters in the area. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, we're always, activists and vegans are always in tune with the hypocrisy, right? So you're like, all these people putting up these missing dog posters, but then wearing their like fur trimmed coats and whatnot. I'm like, that's so ironic and so hypocritical. I'm like, I wonder if they would feel the same if it was an actual missing poster for a missing animal that's part of the same lineage as a dog.
So our missing dog that you have here is actually what?
This is Coyote, I believe.
A coyote.
Yeah.
So is the idea is people stop to look for the missing dog.
Correct.
And then maybe they'll make that connection that what they're wearing around their neck is
exactly.
a dog.
And coyotes at the end of the day, like, this is such a beautiful animal, so cute, right?
Yeah.
And you look at it and like, when you see missing animal posters and you look at them, you're like, oh, so cute, and you feel so sad for that animal, right? And it gives you that empathetic connection. Yeah. And I was trying to achieve the same thing here. This is probably the cutest coyote in existence right here that I found. There's ugly dogs too, right? So you pick the cute ones. The ugly ones?
Yes,
okay.
That's right.
So, we have this cute coyote here, and it says, under the details, feared, caught in a leg hold trap, tortured and murdered by X companies, Canada Goose, Pajar, Macaj, etc., for a fur trimmed jacket, and then it has some links to more information, right? Awesome. And people can make that connection, and they can go to the website and find out more about it.
And then this is pointing to one of the websites that you...
this is thefurbearers.com, which has a lot of information about fur, and zipoffthecruelty@gmail.com, which is another activist's email address for encouraging people to take the fur trims off, to discourage and kind of make it a taboo in society to wear fur trims.
Well, the good thing about this too is that you'd have to, how when we put stickers up, they get ripped down, right? What you'd have to be some kind of sociopath to want to rip down a missing dog poster.
Exactly.
Look closely at it, so it's going to stay up there for a while.
Yeah, I've had a few stay up for a number of weeks, which is pretty impressive.
And when you did that, did you notice tags coming off at all?
I did, which I was really surprised about, right? And I didn't know if it was people who didn't know what it was, and they thought, I'll take a tag, and then if I find this dog, I will call. Or it was people who actually were interested in it. Either or is good.
The message is getting out there.
The message is getting out there. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Now, here in Ontario, the minds of animal activists have been largely occupied with the recent passing of Bill 156 and the death of Regan Russell.
Yeah.
As a bit of background, Bill 156 is basically an ag-gag law that criminalizes whistleblowers and targets, intimidates, and silences truth seekers, preventing them from gathering evidence that exposes the horrors that are going on behind closed doors. To thank the members of the Ontario Provincial Parliament who voted in favor of this bill, you did something very special.
Very special. You make it sound so positive. Should we bring that one out?
Absolutely.
So this one is yes. So I was talking about this like positive approach, and we were talking about Melanie Joy and Tobias. And I think that applies to family, friends, and general members of the public.
People
However,
you're trying to just sway.
correct,
right?
yes. Those people, a positive approach works better because or else they put up their defenses. But when it comes to public figures, whether it's companies who are selling these kind of products or politicians,
You got to apply the pressure.
yeah, I think it's a little bit of a different approach, especially because you're not going to have this one-on-one interaction time with them. So yeah, this is positive approach. And this one, I'll hold it up again. I think people have seen these before online. So it's just calling out the MPPs by name and saying they have blood on their hands, talking about how on June 8th they were warned. I think her name was Ali Pester was the name of a lady that was in the, they had like a consultation thing, I'm going to say, a Zoom consultation about Bill 156. And she said, and it's very telling what she said, that she was afraid the first use of Bill 156 or the first court case of Bill 156 would not be an activist interacting with animals. It would be a use of excessive force of somebody in the animal agriculture industry against an activist. And she said that on June 8th, and nobody heeded that warning. And then on June 19th, we all know what happened with Regan.
Yeah.
And so she like really foreshadowed this happening, and it spells that out right on this thing, right?
And so where were these going? What's the story?
These were going on the MPP's offices.
And these are stickers?
These are stickers, yeah.
Yeah.
They just peel off.
And they're just customized per MPP.
Yeah.
And so they went up. Did I'm guessing that they probably had people trying to get them down as quickly as
They
possible.
did, yeah. They're not permanent, so it's not vandalism. I
Right.
mean, the other thing too, if we did have the police come to our place at one point because of these signs. It was for an MPP in Mississauga because he was actually getting death threats from. I guess nobody likes his MPP, and he's doing all kinds of bad things and voting for bad bills and passing bad legislation. So he was getting death threats, and I think it was from the teachers who were pissed off at him at that time. But they didn't know that, and so they kind of went around to everybody who was a possibility.
Right.
And so they saw these signs. They identified us somehow, and then they came to our place. It was a great conversation. The police were in our place. We almost were having coffee together. It was so positive. But they had to do their due diligence because they didn't know who wanted to kill this guy, this
Right.
MPP, right? So yeah, but other than that, like, nobody's said anything. But these have gone up on each MPP probably 50 times, maybe a little bit less. Not all of them. I mean, geographical areas, but if I'm going to an event that's outside the GTA and there's some MPPs there, I'm going to print up some signs and put it on their offices, right?
I have a burning question. Did you serve the cops your mom's carrot cake? Your mom's vegan cake?
I did not. I didn't have any at the time.
All right, let's wrap up this interview.
So you've done. Tell us about some of the other creative ones that you've done. You've done something going around the laser lights and LEDs and projectors and drones. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
One clue to his identity is that he's kind of techie.
Techie. Yes. I love tech stuff. And that's usually where my mind is. And so it's like a perfect marriage, right? Of tech and activism. So the laser ones is again about doing, a lot of the public has seen the same old thing over and over and over, and they've become numb to it, right? So you have to kind of do something new and catchy. And so lasers, there's not a lot of people walking around with lasers everywhere. So I'm like, okay, how can we use this? So it was projecting on buildings. We started again, I think 2 years ago with some fur messaging, anti-fur messaging downtown. Where have we used it since then? Just on various buildings. Any large white reflective surface with a large amount of traffic going by is a great place to do laser projections.
And because it's just lasers, there's no permanent damage.
Right.
It falls. You had a run-in with the police.
Police came for that too. Yeah, we've had the police come over a few times in the
You're
past
telling
6
people
months.
that they're not going to get in trouble. And
Right.
But what ended up happening with that?
That was even more positive than the signs one. So they came at night. We were projecting across to a building across the street from us because it had a nice white surface on it. And apparently the owner of the building didn't agree with the messaging. So he called the police. The police had to identify where we were. And they came to our place. And they're like, are you projecting a laser across the street? I'm like, I was debating to say no. I'm like, don't lie to the police. So I didn't lie, and I said, yeah, we are. And then I just got all positive. I said, do you want to come in and see it? And they're like, sure. And they were all excited. Police came in. They're like,
come
oh.
mom's carrot cake.
Yeah, he's come have some carrot cake, right? And they saw it and they were fascinated by it. They're like, that's cool. And then they looked at each other and they're thinking about it and they're like, you know, I think that's actually free speech. I think you're allowed to do this. There's no law. We can't really stop you. You're not putting something physically on the building. It's just light, and there's light everywhere.
Yeah.
You're not going to sue the street light for casting a shadow on your place. So it's a similar thing.
They're fighting your legal battle for you.
Kind of. And I was really shocked because that was actually our first interaction with the police in recent months. And I got really scared. You panic when the police are there, right? And it was just all positive. And then, so they're like, you know, like, whatever, do whatever you want. So we kept doing it, and then they called the police the next day. Police came again to our place, and they're like, sorry for bugging you again. I'm like, no, I'm sorry for you guys. They're like, you know, like,
love in. Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm sorry for you.
Exactly. They were saying, that he called us again. He really doesn't agree with this. They said, you can do it if you want, but if you want to be a nice neighbor, you know, you can shut it off. I'm like, I feel bad for you guys. You know, it was in the beginning of the pandemic, and these guys were really, really busy. And I'm like, I feel bad for you guys having to waste your time coming here twice already. I said, I'm just going to shut it off, right? So it really changed my perspective of the police. That most of them are good apples, right?
I would say. And you're doing something similar with projectors.
So we've been using a projector at some of the for free events lately. So having a huge white screen and then projecting some graphic images as well as some like text, trying to inform the public.
Interesting.
And a drone.
Yeah, so
drone is just for some good footage.
So that's so that when you're doing things like compiling videos, you have some dynamic footage.
Again, we live in this age of social media and catchiness and viral videos, and if you just do the same old thing, people have a tendency to tune out. Whereas if somebody sees some footage that looks like it was professionally done, you see this drone, like different angles that people haven't seen before, there's more inclination to maybe watch that a little longer, watch it for 30 seconds instead of 10 seconds, right? So more chance to get the messages
across. Now these
across.
were the pricier things that forms of activism.
Not necessarily. Actually, drones are pretty cheap nowadays.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, compared to,
stickers.
Now
the stickers cost more than the drone.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Well,
there you go.
Yes.
Now we worked on a little campaign that I called Maskivism. Let me look right at the camera.
Yeah.
Maskivism. And that was to raise awareness about the links between pandemics and the animals on our plates. And it was also, we raised quite a bit of money for Ontario.
Thanks to you.
Animal
Yes.
Sanctuaries. Thanks to you.
No, thanks to you.
I have a note here to put on my mask, but
I have it here.
Just pull it out. Can you just tell us more about the masks and the matching stickers and the accompanying website?
How does that look?
Yeah.
Can I look good in the camera?
It's bad.
So it says,
you're ready for your close-up.
eating animals
Causes pandemics.
And then it's
Website zoonoticdiseases.ca.
Yes.
And so the website is just, I kind of bought it in the beginning of pandemic when this kind of word was being thrown around, zoonotic. And right now it doesn't go anywhere, it just links to the Earthling Ed video, which talks about this connection and what a zoonotic disease is, because most people still don't know, which I'm shocked that this is not more in the mainstream media.
Especially
That's sad.
when you look at the percentage of, diseases that are directly related to animal use.
Yes.
It's like when it's something like 75% or something. It's like it's crazy that if we would just simply remove animals from our lifestyle, it would reduce the vector significantly. I'm not going to say that we cut it out completely.
No.
But it would just reduce the opportunity for that crossover to even happen.
Yes, exactly.
It's called indoctrination.
Yeah, I mean, it's called the momentum of the animal agriculture industry and the deep pockets, and it's a normalized thing in society. That's the problem, right?
Did you ever hear back from the Royal Ontario Museum?
No, I haven't. Because they're doing that mask exhibit, right?
Yeah.
We sent a couple of masks to the curator. Forgot her name. Palmer, I think was the last name, and I hope she received them and would include them in her mask display. Because I think it is a very important piece of the pandemic.
So key, so significant. But
Are you going to follow up with?
I didn't even think about it, but now you've told me I will maybe.
It can't hurt, right?
It's been hard to get in touch with anybody because you can't physically go see anybody now. But yeah, we should. She didn't reply to any of our tweets or emails. So
we've mentioned that website. Can you tell us some of the other websites that you point people through, using your activism to get attention for?
Sure. I won't give out the exact names because they could be more identifying, but there's an eggs one, there's a dairy one, There's a one called thetruthaboutfur.ca. And the idea with that was kind of like this eggs one on the TTC, which we didn't talk about yet, right? But there's a website called truthaboutfur.com, I believe. And he works in the fur industry, and he tries to tell the truth, right, on how sustainable and ethical and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is infuriating. And I think his name is like Alan Hersovici. I'm going to just make, again, butchering the name. But he's like total shill for the, let's call him Al. And I'm like, okay, he's got truthaboutfur.com. I'm going to buy thetruthaboutfur.com. And then I saw his stickers for his website in Fur Store windows in Toronto. They have this big sticker, Truth About Fur. And I was thinking we could just put a little the on the top, on the outside of the glass, on the top. And now people will be directed to The Truth About Fur. And you can direct whatever messaging you want. I didn't really have the motivation. There's lots of things being juggled around. So I didn't have the motivation to do that yet. But it is still in my mind.
Just some ideas for people, right?
Yeah.
Just always use that creative nug.
Right. So I just have that that domain still, and there's a few other ones like the zoonotic diseases, of course.
Can you tell us a bit about some of the stickers then that you've been working on?
Sure. So there's the one that's...
Ooh, they're getting low.
They are getting low. That's all that's left,
I will grab a few
Same,
before I leave.
eating animals causes pandemics, zoonoticdiseases.ca. And this all started with Sue. I just wanted to make 2 masks for my wife and myself, and then I think I posted them on somewhere, and Sue is like, "I'll take a couple," and then she's like, "Do you mind if I post them as well on Facebook?" She posted them, and now we've sold 400 or something, or 300.
Yeah. Oh, let's not talk about the chart.
The chart, the chart of people who have bought them. So,
the chart of
but I'm happy that worked out. I think that's one of those things that ends up being successful, right? That
Just
a lot of people are
that
wearing them.
T-shirt as well, the match.
Oh yeah,
Shirt.
it's the same. Yeah.
Which
Since we're going with the
I want
branding.
one. Oh yeah, fully branded.
Yeah, gotta be, right? So this is good to wear grocery shopping. I wear it all the time when I go grocery shopping specifically. That's actually almost only where I wear it for grocery shopping, and I'll hang out like
Did
in
you
the...
wash it before you brought it here?
What do you mean? It's full of cat fur? And then this one, scary eggs. I guess it's the same kind of theme. Whenever I see promotion of animal agriculture somewhere, I feel compelled to like counter that. So in the TTC, they have all these like happy egg farmers and happy chickens things. And they had, I don't even know what the URL is, something about eggs.ca. And I'm like, well, I'm going to just put scary eggs on top of it. And it's the same color scheme and everything.
And the .ca is already
Is
there.
their .ca, yeah. So just scary eggs. And then use their .ca, and it completely covers their link. And then people really think that that's the link. And whoever would have visited that link anyway, I don't know who's visiting egg board advertising links, but instead they would visit scaryeggs.ca and they would see something completely different, trust me. So yeah, just, this promotion of animal agriculture in our society just compels me to counter that, right?
Amazing.
Good man. Oh, okay, just doing a quick little wellness check here. Make sure you're not boiling alive.
No.
You're okay?
I'm okay.
I want to keep that in.
The boiling alive, yeah.
Now, you also keep a database of animal rights articles, etc., from, all different sources, but also reputable, credible sources, which is really something anyone can do. I do this as well. And what's your purpose behind this?
It all started with COVID, right? Is that there would be these like arguments on social media where people would say that it's our exploitation of animals that's the cause of these things, like you pointed out earlier, and then other people being like, no, that's not the case. So I started compiling, like I would find some articles to counter this, scientific articles rather than just anecdote, and I started compiling a list, and it just kept growing and growing and growing, and there's tons of information out there. And now if somebody really wants to challenge that, you can just post the whole thing in there and say, okay, read through these. Once you're done, then let me know if you still think that it's not animals that cause these issues, right? Or exploitation of animals. So, so yeah, that's the database.
Yeah, I've got one just for generic vegan-based responses, and then I actually have
copy paste, yeah.
Well, and then I just do a search for whatever the thing is.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
B12 though.
Yeah. B12. Oh, got it. Yeah.
They all end in though. Right?
Well, what you say is actually really true. And like when you start doing like activism, like especially at like AV cubes, for instance, people will tell you that you get the same arguments over and over. You're like, no, everybody's different and unique. There's like the same 10 arguments over and over and over. So it makes sense to have this.
Exactly. So you also do some videos online, one of which is the morphing video. Can you tell us just a little bit about that?
Sure. I did a morphing video from a pig to a dog and a dog to a pig, I believe. And the caption is the only difference is our perception, I believe. And then there's some links at the end to Challenge 22, I think, or Vegan 22, I forgot what it's called now. And just like, trying to make make it very, very visual, right? And very, very emotional, that you feel this difference because you're like, okay, that's my dog, oh, so cute. And then slowly morphs into a pig and you can't even tell where that demarcation point is. Right, there's no defining moment between one species and another, right? And then maybe, none of these things, Regan said it best, right? I don't know if doing this works, but I know that doing nothing doesn't. Right?
Exactly.
So do any of these things actually work? Is this little morphing thing that took me like a few hours to do, is it going to have any effect? Well, if it affects one person by 20%, it was worth the time that I spent on it, right?
For sure. And we're going to be showing at the end here, we're going to have some of your work. Now, a lot of people feel they're not creative enough or don't have enough time or they're too shy or whatever. What advice can you give to someone who's either new to animal activism or who wants to amp up their efforts? Yeah,
I mean, I guess thinking always gets in the way of doing. So if you think about it too much, you'll do nothing. But if you do nothing is okay, right? You're okay. It's your life. You can do whatever you want. But if you feel you want to do something more to help the animals and it will make you feel good to do that, just do whatever. Whether it's going to something, if you're the kind of person who likes to go to something that's already organized, there's tons of events. There's the Toronto Animal Rights Calendar, which has all the events that are coming up. And if you're a person who likes to go solo and you don't want to really be in the public too much, then you can do any of these different solo things. Just come up with your own stuff or message somebody who you see on social media with an idea that you like and say, hey, I want to do that same thing, but I don't want to do it in a group. I want to do it on my own. And they can send you, like if it's a flyer, they can send you the graphics so you can print it out yourself. But just do something. If you feel, it will make you feel better.
And just remember, perfection is the enemy of progress.
That is right.
So, and also, like just on that note of doing things, we're going to be working together on the something called zoonotic pop-ups.
Zoonotic.
So stay tuned for that. That'll be cool.
Another way to be able to reach people is through petitions, right? So that we can show that there's enough people that are interested in this change that needs to happen. Do you know of any good petitions that are on the go right now?
I find that a lot of the petitions, actually, I've started a number of them myself, these change.org petitions.
Yeah.
You get lots of signatures and it makes you feel good like you're doing something. I have one that has, 30,000 signatures, let's say, but then you don't know what to do with it afterwards. And even if you give it to somebody who's one of the change makers who can help, let's say it's a politician or something, they're going to say it's change.org, it doesn't really count for much. On the contrast, we have things like some of these for free events we're doing recently where we're getting physical signatures, and that has a lot more impact. The impact you have, unfortunately or fortunately, is proportional to the work that you put in. To set up a change.org petition takes an hour, half an hour.
And to respond to it is just a click.
And to respond to it is a click. And people know that. So the people who are going to actually take action on it, who are change makers, are going to know that the effort was very minimal. Whereas if you bring a stack of paper petitions like this, they're like, wow, people stood somewhere on a street corner for hours in all sorts of weather to get these signatures, and people took more than one click to sign this, right? It's not to say that these online petitions are bad, they're still good, but physical petitions seem to still be
Well,
better.
it's just like when you write to an MP,
Right.
rather than, or set up an appointment with them, rather than just clicking on a petition.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
That being said, do you know of any handwritten petitions that people can then download copies of those forms to go gather some signatures around?
The only one in that I can think of recently is these to ban fur in Ontario that we're doing in Oakville and Toronto and different places.
Okay, cool. So I double checked, and it's .com is your contact.
That's correct. But it's not anonymous anymore.
That's just a little joke, everybody.
Yes.
There's no
But you can try. Maybe the site exists, some other person.
If people are interested in doing this sort of thing, do you have any other websites or resources that you would recommend that they look at, though?
Oh, that's a big question. You should have prepped me for that beforehand.
Sue?
Yeah, I know. For the Animal Rights Toronto calendar, of course, is good if you're local. But I mean, I don't know where your viewership is, but if there's always events. Go on social media. There's tons of stuff. Join the vegan groups. That's the thing for me. I didn't have social media actually for 6 or 7 years because I found it was wasting too much time, and I only got back on social media for activism.
It's
because,
a great tool. That's the only reason I'm on social media.
So go on, if you're not on social media, which is very few people nowadays, but if you're not, go on and just search out activist groups in your area and you'll find something.
But for a little bit more insight into your logic of how to do some effective looking at things like Carnism.org, maybe Carnism Debunked.
Center for Effective Vegan Advocacy is great. There's another one called Faunalytics. And you mentioned Carnism.org. These are really good sites where they take a more scientific approach to it.
And more pragmatic on how to be effective in doing
That's
these
right.
things. Awesome.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We really
Thank you
appreciate
guys.
it.
Thank you for doing this this channel and this stuff.
You can either pay me in cash or an e-transfer will work. So that not reveal your identity. Anyway, thanks. Very
I
much.
believe he
Anonymous
paid you.
chat.
And cake.
Oh yeah, you brought me some carrot cake.
Buy your carrot cake.
All right, so just a reminder that we have a new YouTube channel, so if people could just please watch and share and comment, subscribe, like, and that really helps us out a lot.
Exactly. And if you can think of anyone that might get some benefit out of this, maybe they're afraid to do some activism, but now that you've seen this video, think that they might be able to take some action, please make sure to share it as well.
Did you show your bag? Just hold up your bag.
Okay, we can do this bag.
There we go. Very good. Okay.
Awesome, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you again in about a week. Take care. Bye.